MacVoices is supported by ATTO. If you are creating content with your Mac, you can add intelligence and performance to your network workflow with ATTO. ATTO Thunderbolt and host bus adapters are designed for collaboration, like graphic design and video editing. Find out more at atto.com. MacVoices is in San Jose for AltConf and WWDC. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, I met Michael Slade at NAB this year. We found out we have some very strange family connections that are way beyond the scope of this interview, so we won't do that. But Michael is an Apple Distinguished Educator, and he was telling me some interesting things about his reaction to the keynote, and I thought you should hear them too. Michael, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, first of all, where are you an Apple Distinguished Educator?
So I work for the Cal State Teach program, which is a statewide is a statewide teacher program, or teacher training program in California. It's part of the California State University system. I work out of the Chancellor's office.
Okay, so you don't technically teach, you do technology for them.
Right, I do technology for them. The program uses iPads for all the teacher candidates, and so I'm interested in any significant changes in productivity for the iPad for the program.
So it makes, given that description, it makes a little more sense why an educator would be at a development conference. Because originally it's like, okay, I don't quite get the connection. Now it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I've come off and on for many years, and it's good to be able to get some insights into what's going on, see how people are talking about things, and so forth.
So you were telling me some of your reactions to the keynote announcements, which they didn't strike me as in that fashion because I'm not an educator. So what did you find exciting?
Well, since we use iPads, the most significant thing to me is that, well, breaking out a separate operating system for iPad so that they can separately develop the UI and the platform to be more productive, more productivity oriented. The biggest single thing so far, I think, is the idea that the Safari web browser will now take on a desktop status in terms of being able to force default desktop views, but also be able to service things that normally you would not think of as being able to do on a mobile browser. So for example, if you're using Google Docs or something that requires a desktop browser to work in the product, this will work. This will be fine. And that's fabulous. That's a big improvement for people in education, I think.
Are you still fighting the battle that, I mean, Google seems to be giving away so much stuff to the educators, really, and to all of us, and toward what ends? Well, of course, they're trying to improve their market position, but that does put Apple and their hardware at a bit of a disadvantage.
Well, you still have to purchase something with which to access all that, and I think an iPad becomes a first-class citizen with this browser improvement. Because previously, I mean, you could use all the apps, but you wound up having to go out to Google-made apps to use, say, a Google Doc. And now you'll be able to stay in the browser, and you will have a richer experience. So I think that's a good thing for educators.
Given what I just said, how does Apple stand right now in the education market? Is your perception that they are holding their own? Have they been losing ground?
Well, the biggest thing that they did in the past couple of years, or happened for them, was Ohio State now is giving iPads out to all incoming freshmen. They're giving iPad Pros, and they're doing like 10,000 iPads a year in that program. And so there's a significant advantage in having a tool like an iPad that covers a lot more ground than a Chromebook does. I think Apple has it's an interesting problem to have, but they have done a great job also with the low-priced iPad in competing. But if a school is just looking at the cheapest device, they may come away with a Chromebook, which to me is kind of problematic in terms of how flexible it can be, and it's not really terribly good at media production and such.
Does privacy figure into some of those decisions at this point? Do you think that the universities have figured out that that's an issue, or is it still about getting the cheapest thing?
Well, Google has made commitments to make the education version of their products private, and they don't scrape them for content in the ways that they do the free versions of their product in the public. So long as that remains true, I don't think people are as worried about using Google in an educational setting. Apple certainly has a better story to tell in that regard. It was interesting to see Apple announcing their own sign-in thing to compete with Facebook sign-in and Google sign-in. Because I always kind of wondered why people would use, I mean, for convenience, people use that, but I never do, because I think that's I don't want to leave footprints for Facebook and Google. I mean, they already know enough about me without providing them that. So
it's interesting to see the different focuses and the way, and we've been talking security with so many people here this week, and how do they view security and how important is it? And it seems like something that more and more people are finding really important, and they're factoring it into their buying decisions and their implementation decisions more and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is critical, and I think it's part of what's a challenge is students these days, I don't think, take privacy and security all that as being all that valuable. They kind of assume that they're passing stuff out, but I'm not sure they realize their curricula in terms of teaching kids how to tell fake news from real news and how to understand things. And kids, particularly teenagers, do start getting upset when they understand how that data is being used to target them. And they don't like feeling used in that way. They just often don't understand the ramifications of giving away so much information.
Something that is particularly of interest to me, you mentioned that the Chromebooks now are not as good at media production. How important is media production in the education world right now?
Well, one of an emphasis in education now is to provide alternate means of expression for people. So rather than, it may be that the assignment is writing a paper, but maybe there's an alternate that the person can make a video or record an audio thing along the lines of a podcast. Because people may be able to more effectively express themselves in other ways. So why not make those things available? Open up those definitions of what proves knowing the content. It can be a much richer experience. Because
obviously media production is something I'm very interested in and do to a very limited extent, but I also see some of the things that kids are doing now, and it fascinates me. They are at 10 or 11 where I might have been at a much later age, and it's so much more natural to them, whereas to maybe you and I, we really had to work and learn it. And to them, maybe it's because of the tools or the early age thing, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's just something we do at school.
Yeah, I mean, and it's crucial in our program because our teacher candidates need to be able to record their teaching in the classroom to show to their faculty members for critique on teaching. Plus, it's a part of certification for a teacher to submit videos of their teaching along with commentary related to that. So it's more and more important for people to have an idea of how to present on camera, how to and how to do the basics of simple video recording and editing.
Fascinating. Do you have a website or anything where folks can contact you, or a way to get that you prefer they would reach out to you if they have questions or thoughts?
Well, the program is called Cal State Teach, and you can reach that at calstateteach.net. That's probably if you want to know more about the program, that would be a good way to do that.
Michael, thanks so much. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we'll find out more about our strange families later.
Well, yeah, but those are our ancestors. We're perfectly normal.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner, a very normal Chuck Joyner see, sure. I did it. Yeah, I blew it. At AltConf in San Jose. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.